Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just want to begin. The ranking member talked about increasing severity and frequency of storms related to climate change. And while I appreciate he's welcome to his own opinions, however, he's not welcome to his own facts. And a very quick search, just shows NOAA saying that there's a downward trend in Atlantic hurricanes in recent decades in severity and frequency. Now, you can continue on down. You can get a number of different opinions: Center for Climate and Energy Solutions, Carbon Brief, NASA, CNN. The American people really don't know exactly what to believe, so they want to multi-source their information, and they should do that. And they should be allowed to do that, and we should be allowed to question the systems without being accused of impugning the federal workforce. I represent many federal workers that get up early in the morning and go to work and believe in their mission and work hard. We're surrounded by federal workers right here that are on their mission and believe in doing the right thing. But that doesn't mean that everything is hunky-dory, and we shouldn't have to be worried about being accused of being against the federal workforce simply by asking reasonable questions about the system. And so with that, sir, I want to go to occupancy and whether OPM has a plan to advocate for releasing unused work space by the federal government over a 3-month average in 2023. Some agencies are barely hitting 25% occupancy. And we have had bills related to that. The Department of Veterans Affairs, 14%. Social Security Administration, 7%. The Office of Personnel Management, 12%. That's the occupancy rate. Now, as long as we're getting the work done, we understand that times are changing, people telework, people working from home, et cetera. We get that. But sometimes the work's not being done. I'm just going to cite an example that I have. I personally called the Federal Aviation Administration about a constituent concern that I have. It's been 3 months. 3 months, and I haven't gotten a response. Now, I don't know if it's because people aren't at work at the office. I don't know if it's because they don't care, they don't know, they don't want to answer. I don't know what the answer is. I know I can't get an answer, and neither can my boss or the boss of all the people at the Federal Aviation Administration. So I'm just asking now, based on this, will OPM commit to advocating for the release of these buildings, this infrastructure that we have when the occupancy rates are so low?
Congressman, let me first say, fair points. And these are the issues that we are all wrestling with today, is how the intersection of the work arrangements that are in place now measure up to our footprint.
Well, sir, with all due respect, I appreciate that answer, but we know how it measures up. I just went through some numbers with you. They're not at work at the location. They might be at work somewhere. That has to be yet determined, but they're not at the location. The building's essentially sitting empty. Will you advocate for getting rid of that excess space that's costing the taxpayers money when it's not being used? Will you advocate for that? Will your agency advocate for that?
So I have to defer to GSA generally
okay,
on
so
that,
you
Congressman.
All right, let me move on. I'm concerned about the use of taxpayer money when we're not working, when we're working for a collective bargaining unit. Now, particularly, I'm going to use the VA as an example because many of my constituents count on the VA. They count on them for their care. And when we hire somebody like a physician, a dentist, a podiatrist, a nurse, a chiropractor, an optometrist, we want them to do that work because there's a backlog of individuals waiting. They have to travel in many cases. We want those folks doing that work, yet we see that in many cases, those very individuals are doing work 100% of their time on union organizing or union work. And the past administration said those particular vocations could not be used to do union advocacy or union work. But the new administration not only countermanded that decision, but then went back and paid all those people for that time that had been used in the previous administration. And so now what we have is people, veterans that can't get care because the person, like a nurse or any of the other specialties that I listed, are doing 100% of their time doing union work. Will you support a bill that requires OPM to track the official time used to do non-official work or organized labor work on these locations. Will you advocate or support that legislation?
Congress, I'm happy to take that back and work with your office, but I would like to add that in the 1978 law, Congress compromised and required unions to represent everybody in their
I get
bargaining
that,
unit,
sir,
whether
but
they pay dues or
35
not.
years ago, 1978, I understand that, but we're talking about now 100% of time used for union activity by people like nurses and physician's assistants and optometrists and doctors. Is that okay with you folks, or will you support a bill that just says, even if it's okay with you, just to track that, just to track it? You shouldn't have to go back to anybody. Will you advocate for tracking the use of that time?
Congressman, again, I'm happy to take that back and to work with your team
Okay,
on
thank you, Chairman. I yield the balance. I think we got our answer.